Hey everyone, welcome to another entry in the Hyrule Compendium. Today our topic is inspired by commenter Harvest the Chikorita. They asked us what our favorite...
Wait. Harvest the Chikorita?
That's what the name is.
What's wrong with the... killing all the...
Maybe the Chikorita's name is Harvest.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Let's hope. Well, the question was what are our favorite mini-bosses in Zelda? We're gonna alter it a little bit and we're gonna talk about the most memorable mini-bosses.
So the first one I was thinking of was in Ocarina of Time, when you fight Dark Link in the Water Temple. Because now we have fought in Dark Link before, in Adventure of Link or Shadow Link or whatever, but that's sort of like mano-y-mano, especially the first time playing it, because you don't really know how to beat him. You're just like swinging your sword aimlessly and dying. And just the room, the environment, it was just surrounded by water. It was like this endless open area.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
And a big part of that game is seeing all these things about Zelda now rendered in 3D. Like, I remember as a kid thinking that was incredible. And so seeing Dark Link, that was pretty shocking, I'd say.
I always found him to be quite difficult, too. Before you learn that you can just use Dense Fire and hit him all the time, or you can use the Megaton Hammer. You know, there's some sword techniques you can use without knowing that if you just Z-target him and like swing away or try other items, they don't work on him.
One of mine is also from Ocarina of Time, Poe Sisters.
Right.
In the Forest Temple. One thing I like about that a lot, actually, is that it told a story throughout the dungeon. We've talked in other videos about, you know, there being sort of a thread that runs through all of it. I like that there's sort of a storytelling element of how that dungeon works.
Giving some of the bosses character is what makes them memorable. It's like you associate the dungeon with that character because of how the story unfolds a little bit. Like the actual battles with the Poe Sisters are not like, I like shooting the paintings. I think that was cool. And then there was the block puzzle. I like how there's multiple ways to uncover them. Basically, the actual battles were not that exciting.
No, except for the final one is a little different. Yeah, but it's still pretty straightforward.
Going along with like the story element portion, I don't even know if he's considered a mini boss. He's more of an overworld boss, but I'm gonna go with King Bulblin from Twilight Princess. He's like a secondary antagonist throughout the whole game, because you fight him, you know, he kidnaps Colin, and you fight him on the Great Bridge, and then you fight him in above Lake Hylia, and you fight him in the desert. You fight him in Hyrule Castle, and I like how he loses his horns as the game goes on. Every time and there's just like a story arc with him. So after your initial battle with him, you know, you swiped him off, you swiped with your sword and he fell off the bridge. The next time you fight him, he's now got these shields on his sides, so you can't use that. Fortunately, at that point, you have the bomb arrows, and you just shoot him with bomb arrows. I like that his character kind of evolved in that sense.
Twilight Princess has some of the best ones.
It has the most, because every dungeon has one of them. One of my favorite King Bulblin lines is at the end, after you beat him for the 4th time. And he's like, I forgot what he says, but he actually speaks to you. He's like, I always choose the winner, or I'm always with the
stronger side, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And he gives you a key. Yeah, he's turning into a good guy at the end. And
they do a lot of the evolution you said is just through seeing his appearance changing and stuff like that. There's not like there are cutscenes, but there's not like a cutscene where he's like, I'm laying out my motivations.
Yeah.
Here, you know, all you needed was that one line in the end.
Right.
It's pretty epic.
Although he does have some, like, he sets his whole camp on fire after you beat him for the 3rd time. Including leaving his Bulbo just in there, which you use to escape. But, like, that's a pretty cruel thing to do. But
he's a pretty intense guy.
He's a king.
Well, speaking of kings, I wanted to pick another game that has a ton of mini-bosses, Majora's Mask, King Egos du Ikana. I really like that battle.
I like the commentary. I don't remember the text, but I remember it being hilarious.
Yeah, well, you can also put on different masks.
Right, yeah. Don't they respond to the Skull Keaton?
The Captain Keita mask.
Oh, you have to use that, don't you?
No.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
All of it is optional.
Okay.
So I think they for a second think you might be the Captain Kita, and they also respond to if you play the song with the Bremen mask. I think they will march. Do they? Not?
Oh yeah, I don't remember. There's a lot of little Easter eggs in that game.
Yeah,
and that's.
I don't even know if this would that even technically qualify as a mini boss. It's kind of the end of.
Well, it's not a main dungeon.
Yeah.
There's some ambiguity with this listing.
But even within this area, there's a Wizrobe mini boss.
Oh god.
There's like a ton.
I think we can all agree that the Wizrobes in Majora's Mask were just obnoxious.
The worst mini boss ever. Well, the first time or two.
Yeah, it was sort of. Why does Nintendo always does this? Like, let's put this boss 3 times. Let's make it 4 times. 5? I think you fight him 6 times, the Wizrobe. In some dungeons, you fight him twice in one dungeon.
Like in the case of King Bulblin, it was cool when he comes back.
It evolves and it changes, and there's enough time. But like in segment, like I think Wizrobe or the Imprisoned, stuff.
It's like now there's just more spots that Wizrobe spawns.
Right.
That's basically the only difference.
Right. So we were gonna make 3 each. So my third and final one is from Skyward Sword, Scarvo from the Sand Ship. The actual combat of it was okay, but I just like the setting and his character model and the text like everything is great. It's a pretty epic battle, I think. You're on a bridge. You're literally knocking him off. You're making him walk the plank.
Yeah, and the Sand Ship is awesome. It's another one that adds to the feel of the overall dungeon.
Yeah. For sure. That's my favorite dungeon, and that's probably one of my favorite dungeons in the whole series. And I think that battle adds to it, for sure. And I like they recently put out that statue, the first 4-figure statue.
Oh, yeah.
I just picked that up, too.
It's such an epic statue. Because it's like 2 statues in one.
Right, yeah. So it's weird, like, to have, like... Skyward Sword did a few battles like this where it was, like, a vertical playfield. Like, there was no moving left and right that much. Like the Skuldera battle, that's a main boss one where you were going up and down. There were some, the boss of the Earth Temple, if you remember that one. But just having those unique battle sequences that differ from more traditional battles are always fun. And Scarvo did that. And that was another one they decided to throw him again in the Sky Keep.
I forgot what my third one was.
Well, okay. Well, while you think of it, I'll think of some memorable ones that didn't make the list.
Yeah. Let's do that. Our honorable mentions.
Yeah, honorable mention. We talked about Death Hand.
Yeah.
We were talking off camera about Death Hand.
That's one I think people will say. That one, the battle kind of takes away from the concept of like it's grabbing you and you're like this scary thing is coming towards you. That's awesome, but then you just kind of hit him in the face and.
Right.
Once you know how to beat that one, it's less scary.
We were talking about the mini bosses from Wind Waker and their non-existence in some cases.
Yeah.
Or just Mighty Dark Nut number 7. Like, the not very memorable mini bosses in Wind Waker. I think we both agree Twilight Princess was the go-to game for mini bosses. And then we didn't know what to think about Breath of the Wild. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if Lionels are mini bosses, because if they are, I would include them on this list.
We should also give a brief shout out to Link's Awakening for kind of starting
the trend.
It.
Yeah,
because there were mini bosses previous to it, but it was just reusing bosses.
Right. Yeah, it was. Like A Link to the Past was, I think, the first one in that you fought the bosses a second time in the middle portion of a dungeon. Legend of Zelda was like that too. Like you fought like Dig Dagger as a main boss, and then later on he was a mini boss, just an enemy, I guess. But Link's Awakening had some awful bosses, though. I think both bosses and mini bosses.
Awful?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Maybe I like that game a lot, so I
like,
maybe view it a different way.
Oh, here's one that like. So it was a boss in Link's Awakening, Facade.
Just the face on the ground.
Yeah, and then in I think Oracle of Seasons, that was a mini boss.
Okay.
They just recycled it, but it went from like main boss status to mini boss status.
I think the reason I couldn't think of my other one is because I think I was gonna say King Bulblin.
Oh, okay.
But I do have an alternate one because it goes really well, I think, with the idea of the dungeons kind of having a mini story within. Ook, in the Forest Temple in Twilight Princess, there was this whole story with the monkeys.
Right, yeah.
And he was kind of a part of that, and then he comes and helps you at the end of the dungeon. And leading up to the dungeon, there's some story with the monkeys too. So there's almost like a start, middle, and end storyline within this dungeon.
Did he imprison all the monkeys? Was that his doing?
I don't know if it was his doing, but he was a part of it.
Yeah. Or he had that like the parasite on his head. I think that's what it was. Yeah. So you like cleansed him of that.
He was definitely up to some no good in there.
Yeah. Or it wasn't really him, it was that parasite, I guess.
And not only was it cool because he became a part at the end, but you also literally got the dungeon item from him.
Right.
Which is something else they did in other dungeons in that game. I just think that was the best one in that game. Those are our most memorable mini-bosses, and I guess some of our least memorable, we could say.
I'm sure there's some other ones in there that are... There's so many in the series that we probably need like a massive list of...
We could do a whole podcast on it.
Yeah. 10-part series about mini bosses.
It's a future series. But let us know in the comments like some of your favorites. Maybe we forgot something that you would have said. Also, let us know other topics you'd like us to discuss. We're always looking for some feedback on topics. And thanks for watching.